these Florida man things. I'm just afraid it's in the water.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
Joe Theismann here on Pushing the Odds. How has quarantine life been for you?
Probably the most important word that we can all consider is patience with everybody. I know everybody's sort of going stir crazy. I mean, let's face it. This is something we're not used to as a society. We move quite rapidly, but now we're forced to sort of reevaluate the important things in life, and I think it's good in that regard. Matt, I've said this for a long time. If you have your health, you have wealth. Wealth has nothing to do with what your bank account looks like. If you have your health, then you are a very wealthy person. Now it's important that we understand that you want to be able to keep social distancing so that everybody can stay healthy. And the more we can practice that, every day that we can practice that, every day we can buy a day for the scientists to be able to come up with a cure or a vaccine, it's a day closer to having this craziness end. And life will never be the same.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Pharrell's
Coast to Coast. It's Pharrell, Coast to Coast. We're taking over the world. And I got to tell you, from the beginning, it's been kind of easy. You got to love us on SB Nation, kicking ass and taking names. Every day, 4 to 6, you catch my Sports Grid Coast to Coast gig. And imagine this. Once we go live again, baby, you're not going to know what hit you when I start pouring beers and shots for you.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
This is the Jake Asman Show, a Gal Media property. Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Here we go. I'm back. I'm alive. And I'm back on SB Nation Radio. Jake Asman with you. It is the relaunch. Brand new Jake Asman Show. We'll be with you every weekday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern until 11 a.m. Eastern. And man, being on furlough is not fun. So I am very thankful to Gal Media and SB Nation Radio for the opportunity to come back, talk sports, have fun, and it seems like we're inching closer to sports returning. So that's a positive. We had some live sports over the weekend. The Last Dance, well, it ended about 22 years ago, but that's been covered as if it's a real-time sporting event. So we'll get into that. The wrapping up of a 10-part documentary. Got plenty of thoughts on that. But, man, it feels so good to be back on the radio. I said this to Ron Culver before the show this morning. It feels like the first day of school. You walk in, you're a little nervous. You haven't seen everyone in a while. And, full disclosure, there's not a whole lot of people in this building right now, as you would expect. Very few and far between. But it felt like the first day of school this morning, Ron Culver. So it's great to see you, and I'm very excited that you'll be the producer on the show, and we get to work together every weekday morning.
Yay!
You seem thrilled.
Nah, I'm fine. It's going to be a lot of fun. And in fact, the amount of people you see in the building right now, it's going to just multiply by 1 or 2.
That's about it.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people showing up in this building.
It's skeleton crew.
It's actually better this way. I kind of prefer it.
I don't want to get the virus, so I think the less people, the better, right?
Yep.
Lowers the percentages. I see we've done a nice job here at the inside the network studio where there was disinfect wipes in the producer's room. There's hand sanitizer. So we're doing our part here on SB Nation Radio to try and stay safe. And I think, looking at the lineup now and how it's been kind of reshuffled since I left and now came back, we have Eitan Shander doing his show out of Philly. He comes on after I do. Tony's on before I am. Tony Desiri in the morning. He's in Nashville. You look at the lineup. Scott Farrell's doing it out of New York. So I think I'm the only one that's actually using the studio on a day-to-day basis.
You are.
So it is the Jake Asman Show studio for now.
That pretty much is.
So it's great to be back. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to rejoin us and just be a part of Gal Media once again. So I'm excited. We're going to be with you, as I said at the top, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. They're relaunched Jake Asman Show, if you will, and we have a whole lot to talk about. Let's start with this, though. The Last Dance had its last dance. So we'll get to that next. Let's start there. It's the Jake Asman Show here on SB Nation Radio.
Here at Rocket Mortgage and the Rock family of companies, every one of our team members knows a hero.
My Uncle Paul, who works long hours at the grocery store to make sure that people can put food on the table.
We really want to thank my wife's cousin Marie, who works so hard as a nurse saving others.
Thank you for being a hero in our community, Des Marie.
To those who leave their homes to keep us safe in ours, we thank you. From the front lines to behind the scenes, we see you. You're essential every day, and today, you're heroes.
You're giving families everywhere a little more hope for a healthier tomorrow.
We're sending all our love, gratitude, and hope your way.
Here's to all of you. We couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
And we miss you, Mama.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd like to thank America's frontline and essential workers with us, visit everyoneknowsahero.com. Quicken Loans, LLC, NMLS number 3030, licensed in 50 states. Each legal entity that identifies themselves as part of the Rock family of companies are separate legal entities with their own governance and management structures.
Hello, friends. It's Jim Nance. Right now, the greater Houston community has more than 1.1 million food insecure people. That's why the Spirit Golf Association created the Spirit Food Fund. The goal is to raise $2 million and provide hundreds of volunteers. Please text Spirit Food Fund to 41444 and help with whatever you can. Donate to the Spirit Food Fund, benefiting the Houston Food Bank.
O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $28.95 and get a $10 O'Reilly gift card after mail-in rebate. You can even order at O'ReillyAuto.com and we'll deliver it curbside. Protect your engine from sludge and wear at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Fridge had enough after the extra action in the house these last several weeks. Now you have an excuse to get the new one you've been wanting. Lowe's can help with up to 40% off select appliances during our appliance savings event, including an LG InstaView side-by-side refrigerator for $12.99. With a generous amount of space, you'll have even more room to store your family's favorites. Get it fast by ordering at Lowes.com or via our app. Best part, we're offering 12-month special financing and free delivery. Offers valid through 6/3. Free local delivery and credit applies to appliances $2.99 or more. Subject to credit approval. Exclusions apply. U.S. only.
I've always wanted to learn another language, so I decided to give Babbel a try, and I really like the teaching method of the app. I started with the beginner lesson on Babbel, and soon you're putting words into a conversation. Each lesson takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different, which keeps things interesting. I can't wait to use my Spanish skills in real life. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com or download the Babbel app. That's BABBEL.com.
Welcome back. This is the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, here's Jake Asman.
Ron Culver with the music. Well, welcome back. Thank you, Ron. Ron, of course, if you listen to the morning show with Tony Desiri and you listen to Eitan Shander, who follows me, Ron is the co-host of the morning show, and he'll be here helping us out every weekday morning, 9 a to 11 a Eastern.
Now, I chose this song for 2 reasons. For obvious, welcome back. But 2, man, you need a haircut.
I got a haircut.
You're looking a little like Gabe Kapler there.
Here's the thing. I've gone with the quarantine beard, but I have gotten a haircut.
Yeah, quarantine beard. I mean, it's looking. I like it.
And I've trimmed it a couple times, too. So I'm trying to keep it neat.
You have to. You don't go full Ben Roethlisberger on me, please.
No, that is the peak of quarantine.
That kind of fur will get caught in the mic. Makes for a bad day.
I hope he keeps it for the season. It'd be fascinating to watch what he would look like playing with that beard while wearing the helmet.
Well, we've already seen that. It'd be Brett Kiesel.
or Ryan Fitzpatrick if you want to stick with
Ryan
quarterbacks.
Fitzpatrick. There you go.
So there you go. Ron Cover doing his thing. We're going to start with The Last Dance. Once again, if you're just tuning in, the relaunch Jake Asman Show is back Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern right here on SB Nation Radio. One of the cool things I'm doing now with this relaunch show is we're going to stream it live every single day on the SB Nation Radio Facebook page and the SB Nation Radio Twitter account. So just follow at SB Nation Radio, and you could watch the show. If you're not listening to it, well, you want to watch it, and you can comment. We'll read some of the comments on the air throughout as we keep moving forward here on the program. But let's begin with The Last Dance because, when I was, on the furlough, the only thing I really had to look forward to every week was watching, The Last Dance, a 10-part documentary. It wrapped up on ESPN last night. And basically, the documentary is covering the Bulls dynasty, but it's essentially the Michael Jordan documentary. He's the star. Yes, it's about the 98 season. We're looking at the Bulls dynasty, as the director Jason Hare would say, through the prism of the 97-98 Bulls season. But this doc was all about Michael Jordan. And it's funny because going into the documentary, Jordan did a few interviews where he talked about how he hopes people still like him after this doc is finished airing, that he thought people might judge him, that might look at him differently when this thing was ending. And honestly, I kept waiting for the episode where I'd be like, yeah, I don't like Mike. I see why he's saying people might not like him. Oh, this is not a good look, but I'm sorry. How could you not come away watching this documentary not having more of an appreciation for the guy? Like, Michael Jordan is who he is. He was honest in this. He didn't hide anything. I understand people are going to point to the fact, well, he was an executive producer on the doc, so it's not an entirely fair piece, but forget that for a moment here. What didn't they cover, right? They got into the gambling stuff. They got into his father's murder. They got into all the conspiracy theories that surrounded that. They covered everything. You saw Jordan's will to win. They talked about the perception that he wasn't a great teammate, and he got choked up and emotional talking about that. I thought was one of the more powerful parts of the doc. I mean, overall, this was as good of a sports documentary as you will ever see. And there is now an entire generation of sports fans that had never seen Michael Jordan play. Well, you got a taste of what it was like. You got that 90s nostalgia. You got to relive it if you did get to see it live in person all those years ago. But for the generation that didn't get to see Jordan play, well, now you did. And it came at the perfect time when you consider there's nothing going on in the sports world, when you consider that we are just waiting for something to captivate us, right? We're supposed to be having the conference finals of the NBA playoffs right now. That was supposed to be this past weekend. Games 1 and 2. Didn't happen. So this doc every Sunday, the last 5 weeks, was like a mini Super Bowl. The ratings were off the charts, highest ever for a documentary on ESPN. And Jordan was worried he wouldn't be loved. I think, if anything, he's even more loved coming after this. Even more appreciated. He was who he was. There's some thoughts about episode 9 and 10 last night. The grudge list that Jordan has, not even just in the 2 episodes we saw last night, but throughout the entire series. It's unbelievable. I mean, this guy would just manufacture anger to motivate himself to play. He was a master manipulator. Like, no one has Michael Jordan's will to win. It's cliche. Oh, he's got great will to win, that player. No, Michael Jordan is the very definition of will to win. I mean, that Bulls team in 98 was on absolute fumes, and you saw it. And Pippen goes down early in that game 6, and Jordan has to do everything himself. And the sequence that they covered at the end, where Jordan hits the layup, then has the defensive steal on Malone, and then goes back the other way and hits the shot. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. That's an all-time sequence in a playoff game, in an NBA Finals game, by probably the greatest player of all time. And by the way, speaking of Jordan's grudge list, the fact that Michael Jordan, after all these years, hasn't tracked down the 5 pizza delivery guys and went after them, that to me is the biggest surprise of the documentary. It was funny seeing so many people learn that the flu game wasn't actually the flu game. It was the food poisoning game. I thought that was common knowledge for a while. I guess not. A lot of people on Twitter last night were freaking out.
I had no idea.
Game. You didn't know?
I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll say this too. It wasn't a flu. If you eat an entire pizza by yourself, you got to own it.
If you're eating pizza in Utah by yourself, that's another level.
You know what? I'm not gonna slight Utah pizza.
Well,
Right?
I'm from New York, Ron,
No, I know,
so
I know.
I'm a very snobby
and
pizza man.
And you have the right to do that, but I'm sure there's a good Mormon spin on that pizza that makes it tasty.
I'm sure there is. I would not try it.
You know, but I'm gonna say if you're eating an entire pizza and you start eating that pizza, what, at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night? Yeah, bad things are gonna happen to you. Guarantee.
I would agree. I would agree. And it's funny how, you see the story unfolding, how Jordan's the only one to have eaten the pizza. It would have been nice if a couple other people had eaten the pizza as well, just so we got definitive proof. Okay, this pizza was the cause. This was food poisoning. But we got just Jordan eating it. And that story was fascinating. And I guess a lot of people didn't realize that, the flu game was actually the food poisoning game. The other thing that was kind of just weird about episodes 9 and 10 last night, as we talk Last Dance here on the Jake Asman Show, Michael Jordan's kids are not featured in the documentary the entire time up until last night. They get thrown on the screen basically just to say Utah sucks. Like, that's all they added to the doc last night. Oh, Utah was so loud. We hated going there. All right, thanks, Michael's kids. Moving on. That was it. Nothing at all from his children besides basically Utah sucks. The other thing I loved last night, a couple things, and we'll talk more about this later on in the show when we play some audio from The Last Dance in a segment we'll do called Quick Hits in the second hour. But Jordan telling Larry Bird to work on his golf game after he beat the Pacers and Larry's team in Game 7, and he had some expletives to say as well. That's about as funny as it gets right there. I mean, the behind-the-scenes footage that The Last Dance had, it's just so surreal. The scene of Jordan playing the piano in his hotel room after they win the championship in Utah, it's just unbelievable, the footage that they had for this doc.
See, Tony and I had this question early on. Are all teams like this?
It's a great question.
Because, I mean, the amount of footage that back access that they had was, I've never seen it. It's unparalleled.
And it's just crazy that it was just sitting there for 23 years until this documentary was made.
Unless, did they know ahead of time? Like, did Jordan goes like, hey, just in case, film everything.
And so the story goes that Jordan had to sign off. Phil Jackson had to sign off on the film crew following them everywhere going into the last season. Adam Silver, who's now the NBA commissioner, of course, was running NBA entertainment and was able to convince the Bulls to allow the camera crew to follow them around. And it just shows you how smart Silver was 23 years ago to have the idea to do this. And 23 years later, we get arguably, the greatest sports documentary you'll ever see. A couple other thoughts on this doc here as we go through The Last Dance. And then there's a bigger question to kind of get into as far as, what comes next in the sports documentary landscape. I heard Tony Desiri mention this in his show this morning on the network about which athletes or teams do you believe deserve this type of documentary, right? We don't get that many 10-part docs in the sports world. The O.J. Simpson doc a couple years ago that won the best picture or the best Oscar, or excuse me, the Oscar for the best documentary was that O.J. doc, O.J. Made in America. And now the Jordan doc, which I'm sure is going to clean up during award season next year. But you look at some of the scenes that featured Michael Jordan, every time they show Jordan a clip on the iPad, it created some of the great memes you'll ever see of Jordan's facial reactions, including at the very end of the doc where Jordan gets played the answer from Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Bulls, the answer on why Reinsdorf claimed he had to break up the Bulls. And you could tell, even all these years later, it still bothered Jordan that team, the Bulls, did not get a chance to defend their championship and go for ring number 7. And Jordan even acknowledged, hey, maybe we wouldn't have won it, but we would have liked the opportunity to go for it. And it's just hard to fathom a team with the greatest player to ever play coming off another NBA Finals, a Finals MVP, and a regular season MVP, still playing at his absolute peak at age 35, or going into his age 35 season. They said, we're good. We're going to rebuild. And it all started because you had Jerry Krause say before the year even started, hey, Phil Jackson can go 82-0 and it won't matter. It's hard to fathom that. It really is. It would never happen nowadays with player empowerment, where if you would go to the best player in the world, let's use LeBron as the example. Oh, LeBron, this is it. You're the coach you love. He's gone, and you can stick around if you want to be part of a rebuild. Otherwise, that's it. We're done. It's just unbelievable. And I understand Krause, in a sense, kind of gets painted as the villain here, and he's not alive, so he can't defend himself. He's the only person from these teams that didn't get a chance to get interviewed for this doc. But I'm sorry. Not enough blame is on Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of this team. You're the owner. You're the guy who hires Krause. You sign off on everything he did. And to allow Pippen to just walk in free agency with the sign and trade to the Houston Rockets, to just let Phil leave and not convince Phil to come back. It's just as great of a GM as Krause was putting that team together. And listen, the only piece he didn't put on that team was Jordan. He inherited Jordan. The rest was all what he built. Krause deserves a ton of credit for all that. But I'm sorry. You can't be considered a great GM and let, a dynasty with 6 championships, 3 in a row, fall apart because you wanted to, not because somebody beat you. And I think to this day, you could see that's about as honest as you're going to get from Michael Jordan. It bothered him that they didn't get the chance to go for 7. And when you think about it, the next season, right, 98-99, it was a lockout-shortened season, 50 games. All of a sudden, the Bulls, after a long summer, each of the last 3 years going all the way to the NBA Finals, all of a sudden they get a lot of time to rest up. All of a sudden, they don't have to go through an 82-game grind. They're an older team. Maybe that would have been perfect for them. So I think Jerry Krause gets painted as the villain here, but none of that blame is on Jerry Reinsdorf for being, the owner of a team that's coming off their 6th championship in 8 years and allowing the greatest player ever coming off an MVP season just to walk away and go retire. And you knew Jordan still wanted to play because he came back 3 years later for the Wizards. But overall, my goodness, The Last Dance, just as good as it gets for any type of documentary, as good as it gets for a sports documentary, maybe the greatest ever. Coming up next, let's ask the question. We'll hear from you on this as well. And the number to call to get involved is 800-224-2004. If you could pick a team or an athlete that you believe deserves a 10-episode bio series, who are you choosing? I have 4 athletes for you I want to run by. Maybe 5. Depends how we look at it. We'll do that next. You're listening to the Jake Asman Show right here. We're on SB Nation Radio.
Into the night.
The great Pat McAfee, an award-winning sports reporter, former punter, joins us now. Pat, I read that you said that you have no shot of being part of the Monday Night Crew. Is that official, or is that just your gut feeling?
A year ago, my boys and I and the people that follow me on the internet are the greatest humans on earth. We pushed for the Monday Night Football rule. We know there was no chance that I would get considered for it, but we made a little bit of noise. And whenever the job seemed to be opened up yet again here, obviously the natural thing was, okay, we made a push for it last year. Let's go for it again. And every time I would ask a question to, my people, I was basically told, that's going to be a long shot because ESPN, they want a prestigious booth again. And whenever you're a punter, that's not necessarily the position you're always in, a prestigious one, shall we say. So I think I've been told on a couple different occasions that I'm probably not the guy that's going to get that gig. And do I think I'd be good at it? Yeah, I think I would be. But now is not the right time. And there is zero chance in hell that I get offered the gig anyways.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Game Time Decisions.
I'm Gabriel Morency, inviting you to join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio, the loudest station in the nation. No games, no problem. We've got your back. Weekdays at 6, we throw it down. Best bets, props. If they're playing, we'll find a number on it. Bring it. Weekdays at 6, SB Nation Radio, Game Time Decisions.
Game Time Decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
We know Major League Baseball is trying to get back, but eventually it will, and eventually minor league baseball will be back. And if you are a minor league team in need of a change of identity, would you go with Murder Hornets?
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Kind of like with a hat, with a Murder Hornet hat on it, maybe going through some letter or something. Like if you're Chattanooga, you got a C on it, a Murder Hornet blasting through.
Murder Hornet mascot running through the stadium.
Wouldn't it be cool if you have like a race between a bee and a Murder Hornet? Like, everybody, now let's go to the outfield where Harry the Murder Hornet is going to be running against a couple of bees. And you get the fans dressed up as bees and they're running. And if they can outrun the Murder Hornet, they get a prize pack. But if the Murder Hornet catches them, unfortunately, he's got to rip their head off.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call.
And one of the things I do like about Rodgers that is not like other quarterbacks in this league, and even veterans in this league who tend to not speak their mind, Rodgers speaks his mind. He's going to probably have a lot to say about this organization not meeting the needs of a 13-3 team that was a win away from the Super Bowl.
So gone are the days of RELAX.
Yeah, I think so.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. You're listening to the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, here's Jake Asman.
O'Reilly Auto Parts will help make your auto repair, maintenance, and restoration projects easier. So when your car isn't stopping like it used to, the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the parts and supplies you need to do the job right the first time. Now, for a limited time, save 15% when you buy any set of Brake Best pads or 2 Brake Best rotors. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. It is the Jake Asman Show. If you're tuning in being like, wait a second, he's back, he's here, you haven't heard him in 6 weeks. Well, I am back. Thankful to SB Nation Radio for the opportunity to be back. We will be with you, part of a new show, 9 a.m. Eastern through 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So the lineup here at SB Nation Radio is stacked. Tony Desiri, Eitan Shander, Scott Farrell, Tony Bruno, of course, Matt Peralt anchoring the 1 to 4 Eastern slot. I'm pushing the odds out in Vegas. So we're excited to bring you some great sports talk, even in a world right now that doesn't have a whole lot of sports. But we did have a documentary that came and gone. That was The Last Dance. Episodes 9 and 10 aired last night on ESPN. It's over. And I think the big takeaway, if you did miss the first segment of the show today, is that was probably the greatest sports documentary we might ever see. The OJ Made in America one was phenomenal as well, but I just enjoyed this Michael Jordan one way more. And that's not to knock the OJ one. It's just a different type of topic. And as someone who really wasn't, old enough to watch Jordan in his prime in the 90s with the Bulls, getting a chance to get a taste of what it was like through this doc was incredible. And getting a chance to kind of learn a lot of the different, the other kind of sub-stories that you learn and some of the other characters in play and kind of the up-close look at, the greatest basketball player of all time and some of the greatest teams ever. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. That was awesome. So Last Dance, a major success. And here's the question now, right? So ESPN has some other documentaries coming out. They're going to do one on the home run chase involving Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire from 1998. There's a documentary coming out, I think, next Sunday, 2 parts, part 1 and 2. Lance Armstrong, he's going to get his own doc. But if there was another athlete or another team that's worthy of a 10-episode bio series, who is it? Who would you choose? I got 4, maybe 5 athletes because maybe this one doc could be combined. I start with Tiger Woods. I think he's the most obvious answer out of any of the athletes because to me, to have a great storyline with an athlete, you kind of need that rise and fall and that redemption arc. And Tiger Woods doing what he did last year at the Masters is like the perfect, redemption story after going 11 years between winning majors, right? Maybe the greatest golfer of all time, everything he went through with the back surgeries and everything that went on with his family life. To me, that would be an unbelievable 10-part bio series. The career of Tiger Woods, the rise and fall and the rise again. If you want to stick with a team sport athlete, to me, the only other equivalent to Jordan would be Tom Brady. And you have the kind of the rise and not necessarily the fall with Brady, but his divorce with New England being covered in that doc. And Brady would go on the record honestly and talk about it, and we'd get some real info. I think that would be a really compelling documentary as well. If we're going to do an individual sport athlete, Mike Tyson, to me, just screams 10-part bio doc because you want that rise and fall and rise again. Well, how about Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion ever, feared for as long as he was, this great fighter, loses the Buster Douglas, comes back. He's never really the same after that. He wraps up his fighting career in 2005. He obviously goes away to prison for the rape allegations, which he's convicted of. He comes back, he stars in The Hangover, and now Mike Tyson's this beloved figure in pop culture once again. And apparently he's training to come back and fight. So maybe the doc ends with Tyson fighting Holyfield at age 53 or something like that. So I think there definitely could be something on Mike Tyson that you could do. I think he's someone that could be worthy of a 10-part doc. And then here's where I get to the fourth athlete, or maybe five, depending how you look at it. You could do one on just Barry Bonds and focus in on his career, maybe the greatest baseball player of all time, but obviously clouded by the steroid stuff. Or you could do something with a bunch of the steroid guys all at once. Like you could do a Barry Bonds and A-Rod doc, and maybe each of the different parts covers a different, tainted slugger. Or you want to do a tainted pitcher, you could look at Roger Clemens. Those are some of the names that instantly jump off the page to me. Now, I threw this question out there on Twitter at Jake Asman. You could tweet in, or if you're watching on any of the streams, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, we certainly appreciate you doing that. At Captain Jack Sparrow, or Sabaro. Well done, Jack. At Captain Jack Sabaro _ tweeted into me. Jeter should get a docuseries as well. As a Yankee fan, I'd love it. I don't know if there's 10 episodes there with Derek Jeter, though. I really don't. Jeter has always been, the ultimate winner, team guy, lived the charmed life. You could do a 10-part documentary series on each of the historically beautiful women that Derek Jeter has dated in his career. That I'd watch. But on a serious note, as much as I love Derek Jeter, there really wasn't a rise. There was certainly a rise, but was there ever really a fall? Like what controversy really surrounded Jeter? Even with Michael Jordan, there were some things there, right? With the gambling and his father's murder and some of the conspiracy theories about how this guy just picks up in the middle of his career after winning 3 straight NBA titles and goes and plays baseball. There's intrigue with Michael Jordan. Plus, he's probably the greatest, basketball player of all time, and he's a global icon. Jeter is one of the best players of all time in baseball, but he's not considered the GOAT. He's just not. So I think Jeter would be interesting. I also don't know if Derek Jeter would want to open himself up that much. That's never really been his thing. Now, to stay with Jeter for a moment, Jeter did do a documentary, covering his 3,000 hit in 2011. HBO Sports produced that one, and that was really good. They had cameras following him around, but that was, for a couple months. You want to do something on Jeter's career, that's a little different. James Manuli in the Facebook comments wrote in Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Lance Armstrong. Well, James, you're lucky. Lance Armstrong, you get a 2-part documentary starting next Sunday on ESPN. Earnhardt, I think, would be fascinating. Obviously, you'd have to talk about the death of his father. That'd be a huge part of the doc. But there are certainly some topics and there's some stories there. It's just amazing that when you watch The Last Dance, the fact that they had this footage, the fact that for 23 years, this footage is just sitting around. It was in the NBA, entertainment offices in New Jersey. And after years upon years of asking Jordan to finally sign on and make the doc, because Jordan had final say. They could not make this documentary without his approval. He finally greenlights it. And the story goes he greenlights it on the day of the Cleveland Cavaliers championship parade. How's that for irony? And it's funny, for the generation that never saw Michael Jordan, I wonder if you were in the, team LeBron's better than Jordan, if your perception on that has changed, if your mind has already been made, or are you going to look at it differently now? I mean, listen, the fact that I've always said this in regards to that debate, the fact that it's even a question that you can even argue LeBron, I think that's a testament to LeBron James. I really do. Because think about it. It's either Jordan or LeBron. It's universally decided now. It's either Jordan won or LeBron won. You can put Kareem in that argument, but he's a center, so it's tougher to have that discussion. The fact that LeBron's even made that a conversation, I think is a testament to him. But there you go. Coming up next, let's change gears. Let's talk a little football, a little pro football, focus football. Dr. Eric Eager from PFF. He joins us next.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During the challenging times we're all experiencing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that'll never change is our commitment to giving you the best mortgage experience. At Rocket Mortgage, our guiding philosophy of every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, exists for times like right now. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your mortgage, contact us 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows. If you think right now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Did you know online alcohol sales have more than tripled since March? Yep, drinking from home is at an all-time high. And Cheers is here to help fight those pesky hangovers. Whether you drink a little or a lot, Cheers is designed to reduce alcohol's negative effects and help you feel better the next day. It works by neutralizing the toxins that affect your liver and replacing the vitamins you lose when you drink alcohol. No more waking up with headaches or nausea after a night of drinking. It's the best thing to happen to alcohol since alcohol. To use Cheers, just take 2 to 4 capsules after your last drink or before bed. If you don't feel at least 50% better the next day, you'll get your money back. No questions asked. To order Cheers, simply visit cheershealth.com/radio and use promo code radio10 at checkout. You'll get $10 off your next order and at least 50% off your next hangover. That's cheershealth.com/radio. Promo code radio10. Say cheers to brighter mornings. Your liver will thank you.
Hello, friends. It's Jim Nance. Right now, the greater Houston community has more than 1.1 million food insecure people. That's why the Spirit Golf Association created the Spirit Food Fund. The goal is to raise $2 million and provide hundreds of volunteers. Please text Spirit Food Fund to 41444 and help with whatever you can. Donate to the Spirit Food Fund, benefiting the Houston Food Bank.
Welcome back to the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, here's Jake Asman.
We continue here on the Jake Asman Show. We're back. It's a Monday. We're with you from 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's time to bring on our first guest in the relaunch of the program. You can follow him on Twitter at PFF_Eric. He is the data scientist at Pro Football Focus, the co-host of the PFF Forecast podcast. And Dr. Eric Eager joins us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Dr. Eric, thanks so much for the time this morning, man. Hope you're safe. Hope all is well. I really appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jake. I'm glad to see you guys back on the radio here, and hopefully it's only up from here after we finally got live sports back last week.
I sure hope so, and it's obviously good to see a lot of these sports at least trending in the right direction towards coming back. And as you mentioned, some already are back. I wanted to start with this, just talking about the impact the virus has had on the NFL. What are your thoughts on how the NFL is going to try and navigate, a difficult situation trying to reopen some, training facilities for teams in states where, they're allowed to do so. And then there's other states that have teams that will not be able to do so just yet. Kind of what's your take on that whole situation and the difficulty of deciding what's right for the NFL to do?
I think ultimately it's going to come down to, what has happened, previously when, we haven't had sports before. Right. And it's strange, but you think back at every single time sort of we've had, labor disputes in the NFL, whether it be 82, 87, even 2011 when the lockout, or in baseball in 94, we had the strike. There were significant downturns in the popularity of the sport as a result of players, sort of holding out for more money, and the sort of moral implications aside, I do think that there's going to be a significant, lobbying effort by the owners, by politicians, even in states. Sort of, you look at like the difference, for example, between Florida and California. Like there's going to be, I think, a significant effort to say, look, the country needs a diversion. At times like this, we need to be prepared for the, because if we aren't prepared now for the season, we're not going to get one until, let's say, November. And I think that that outlook is a bit daunting for, I would say, our leaders. Obviously this is an election year, and it's daunting also for those of us, obviously in the media, but also people who are just fans thinking about, a September without football just doesn't seem plausible.
Dr. Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus with us here on the Jake Asman Show. So let me ask you this: with a lot of these workouts being, over Zoom calls and all virtual and whatnot, do you think that will have a tangible effect on what we see come regular season wise, or are we making too much of this idea that teams can't get together and rookies can't really get with their teams probably until pretty close to training camp?
I do think it's real. I think continuity was a factor in 2011 when, the players were locked out all the way until late July. In the past, we've seen that as well. Teams, back in the 80s when, there were more, strikes and things like that, the teams that sort of stuck together were, I think, a little bit more well prepared to deal with it. And so I do think it's real. So you look at like teams like, for example, Kansas City, who have brought back 20 to 22 starters, a lot of continuity of the coach, the coaching staff. That team to me has an edge over a team, for example, let's say like you look at Minnesota, who, got rid of their best player, lost all three starters in the cornerback position, and then they have a great draft. They draft 15 players, a lot of whom I think were good values. But the idea that they're going to get 15 players to acclimate to the NFL, circumstances in such a short time, I think is a little bit, overly optimistic. So I do think if you're looking through the league, you say, okay, what teams have continuity at quarterback? What teams have continuity at receiver? What teams have continuity at the head coach and the coordinator positions? I think that's where you're going to find, the teams that are good. And the teams that we may be overvaluing right now are ones where we're being overly optimistic about some of these splash moves that they've made in the offseason, for example, like Tampa Bay.
On the Progressive Guest Line is Dr. Eric Eager. You can follow him on Twitter at PFF_Eric. I want to get into some of the win breakdowns that you've been able to put together on Pro Football Focus's website, simulating the 2020 NFL season. But first, I still can't believe we're talking about this. Cam Newton is still out there. I saw Anthony Lynn, the Chargers head coach, comment on their interest, but ultimately said they didn't go in that direction because they like what they have in-house. And, of course, we know they drafted a quarterback with the 6th overall selection of Justin Herbert. What do you make of Cam Newton still being out there as we sit here and talk on May 18th?
It's interesting, right? I think it's unfolded strangely for him because he's, I think, a quarterback that no one quite understands, right? He has a ton of detractors who I think are unfair because of how much he adds as a runner and how much he adds as a leader. And then there are the people that think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think other than 2015, that's simply not true. I don't think he's accurate enough to make that claim. But he's certainly a starter in the NFL, and he deserves, that kind of money. But you look around the league at the teams that need quarterbacks. I mean, New England's the classic choice, but New England has under $1 million in cap room currently, and they haven't even signed their draft pick. You obviously look at the Chargers, but they just drafted a quarterback, at 6th overall. They spent the entire offseason talking about Tyrod Taylor, and Tyrod Taylor has a year in the system, which might give him a leg up anyway at times like this. So it's going to be a strange one. It might be one of those circumstances where, you get an injury during training camp, a la Teddy Bridgewater going to Sam Bradford, or, a year later you had Ryan Tannehill, and then the Dolphins went with Jay Cutler for a year. I think you might get something more like that, where the player actually has a decent amount of leverage when a team is in trouble, in August, than he does right now, when everybody, I think, is optimistic about their circumstances moving forward.
Dr. Eric Eager with us here on the Jake Asman Show, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. So I want to get to this article that you were able to put together. So you went through every single NFL's team, every team, went by division, and you were able to kind of simulate the amount of wins that each team came away with. First off, how did you at Pro Football Focus come up with the different simulation numbers, and what to you were the big takeaways when you broke down each team?
Yeah, I mean, you go through and you have your power metrics, and then you basically say, here's this team with this sort of composition. How does it fare over a team with that composition? And then, you build in, obviously, the schedule has its quirks, with back-to-back road games and things like that could really, take a team and sort of, compound things. But, ultimately what you're doing is you're just, asking yourself, like, what's going to happen in a particular season. You do that, a few thousand times, and you take an average. There are injury probabilities built in. There are, probabilities of teams getting hot, probabilities of teams getting cold. all that stuff sort of goes into there. And so that's how you can get, I mean, we've seen, historically San Francisco last year, their Vegas win total was like 8. They end up getting 13. Green Bay, I think, was more like Vegas win total of 9. They get 13 wins as well. And teams that were, considered really good at the start of the season, Philadelphia, LA, those teams, regress for what, amounts to be in hindsight, obvious reasons. And you want to sort of build in a simulation engine that can sort of permute all of those possibilities.
The full article is available on PFF.com, of course, simulating the 2020 NFL season. The bottom of the article, I'm reading in here, Eric, some futures that you guys like at Pro Football Focus. There's a few of them, but let's start with this. The Kansas City Chiefs at plus 750 to win the Super Bowl. Is that just because, hey, they got Patrick Mahomes? We saw what they did last year. They very easily could have been to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and until somebody knocks them off, they're going to be the prohibitive favorites?
Yeah, I think so. And they're given similar odds as Baltimore. Even though I think Baltimore has an interesting sort of like relationship with success, where, Lamar Jackson is a lot of the product of a system. They had the most valuable offensive line a season ago. They lose Marshall Yanda. They have tight end. Their tight end was super efficient last year, but he is a young guy that could regress. And then their defense is a very anti-fragile system. But, you get an injury to Marcus Peters, you get regression from Marcus Peters, you get some, their linebacking core, does Patrick Queen assimilate quickly, and then can they get a pass rush? I mean, they let a lot of their pass rushers go, but they get Calais Campbell, they get, Matthew Judon with the franchise tag. Can they bring enough heat? There's so many questions that have to be answered yes for the Ravens to be as elite as they were last year. Whereas with the Chiefs, the answer to whether or not they're elite is their quarterback coach combination still the best in the league? And the answer to that question is yes, more often than all the knock-on, answers to the Ravens are yes.
Eric, a lot of people are going to be asking about the Bucs, and are they being hyped up too much? Can they actually go win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady being the new quarterback and Gronkowski, of course, coming out of retirement to play with his buddy Brady? Where do you guys have the Bucs in this simulation? And obviously, what is their ceiling? Are they good enough to win a Super Bowl?
Certainly, they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. We have them, I think, a little bit under 9. So we have them with a winning record, I believe. I believe it's something like 9.5. And on Vegas, it's about 10. I'm a fan of the under if I'm looking at a Vegas win total of 10 or more, just because so many things can go wrong and make that a tough. That Tampa Bay, have a tough time with that. That being said, you look at, they were top 10 in the NFL in yards per play allowed last year. They were top 10 in expected points added last season. Their quarterback threw a lot of interceptions, sort of which hurt them, in terms of, being able to, not allow that many points. But when I look at this division, I think New Orleans is, a favorite, Tampa Bay, probably a win below. But, certainly, I think a favorite to make the playoffs. And once that happens, if they make the playoffs, that probably means Gronk played well. That means the 2 wide receivers played well. I mean, Brady stayed healthy and the defense was at least okay. And give me that in the playoffs with Brady and company any day of the week. So it's tough because there's so many things that can go wrong, but the things that can go right, I think, could push Tampa Bay, into a contender role.
Dr. Eric Eager with us here is the data scientist at Pro Football Focus, the co-host of the PFF Forecast, and you can follow him on Twitter at PFF_Eric. Let's end with this. It's anyone's guess at this point, but your gut feel, does the NFL season start on time?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're without fans, probably at least for the first half of the season. But I've put it at about 70-30 that the season starts on time. So I'm going to stick with that. I think we've had some positive trending there. College football is a far dicier proposition. But I think the NFL, if you're an NFL fan, there's reasons to be optimistic.
He's Dr. Eric Eager, once again, the data scientist at Pro Football Focus. Follow him on Twitter at PFF_Eric. Dr. Eric, love getting a chance to catch up with you. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll definitely do it again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Dr. Eric Eager, our guest there on the Progressive Guest Line. Of course, you can quote, buy, and save on your home insurance with Progressive's new Home Quote Explorer, only at Progressive.com. We will wrap up the first hour of the relaunch Jake Asman Show when we return. Stay tuned. Here, you're listening to the Jake Asman Show.
Pharrell
Coast to coast.
I do Pharrell Coast to Coast on SB Nation from 4 to 6 Eastern. It's my Sports Grid show. I know you love it. I'm talking to the coolest people in sports, unique characters, you name it, I bring it to you. Wait till you get a load of me when I'm on at 7 p.m. Eastern. We do a show called In Game Live, where I show you how much of an in-game betting problem that I have.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Let's go.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
I want to talk about baseball and the money conversation. What's going on?
I think I'm allergic to
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later, okay? Madeline, I'm on the air, kiddo. I can't talk right now, okay? We'll talk later, okay? Hold on. Just stay right there. I have a commercial break coming up. This is what I'm dealing with the fiber. And my wife is here. I don't know why. Why is Mommy letting you in here, Madeline? Do you want to come on the radio or what? Go ahead. What?
Yes, now.
Yes, now? Wait, so just say hi, and then you can be gone, okay?
I'm going to come on the radio now.
You're on the radio now. That microphone's on. You're on the radio now.
Hi, bye.
Those are headphones. Yes, you do. So, yeah, that's my life now, okay? I'm getting interrupted doing national radio with a 5-year-old running in and out, okay? Thanks, hon. Appreciate it. I'll come talk to you during the commercial break. Oh, boy. Okay.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
If business, pleasure, or sports fandom takes you to Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, check out CultureMap.com to get the scoop on the local favorites. From the best restaurants, bars, pubs, and clubs to the biggest sights and sounds each city has to offer, CultureMap has it all. Just head over to CultureMap.com. The expert team personally reviews and visits each spot to make sure you get the best experience. And if you're coming back, sign up for free CultureMap updates at CultureMap.com.
Wake up call.
Raiders and Saints, right? Big game. Opening up the brand new stadium. But you know what's going to be missing? There's going to be like 15 people in the shot. The black hole is going to have like 4 participants.
Do you think only AI and D show up?
That's right. Yeah. AI and D, right. That's the only ones they got. Like, yeah, it's all we can fit in. Social distancing.
Both R's.
Asses out. Both R's are gone. They wouldn't let them in the stadium.
Which quarterback is going to shush the crowd?
That's what I was wondering. Which quarterback is going to have the guts to go up to a crowd and go, quiet? I would do it every time I was in the red zone this season. That would be my thing. You're going to be able to hear, beer, beer. Which one of you 5 want beer?
Yeah, I'm over here.
Yeah, all right. It's going to be a walk, but it'll be fine. I'll get there.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. This is the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
This hour of the Jake Asman Show, right here on SB Nation Radio, has been presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way to provide a seamless mortgage experience. We move along here on the show. Major League Baseball players, if the season does return, are apparently going to be prohibited from taking showers after games. They're also not going to be allowed to fist bump during celebrations, spit sunflower seeds in the dugout. This is real. These are some of the proposed safety guidelines to try and stop the spread of the virus that the MLB has sent to the Players Union.
So no showers,
the season, comes back. No showers.
Just smelly players running around.
Disgusting. So the MLB sent a 67-page return to play rules. So somehow, some way, they were able to come up with 67 pages of rules. The biggest takeaway, though, is the shower one. I'm sorry. These are Major League Baseball players. You mean to tell me we can't have a shower area of the clubhouse, that it can't be cleaned
going to
constantly?
assume that coronavirus spreads very rapidly with soap and water. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, that's why we've been washing our hands.
That's what I've been told. It spreads rapidly through soap and water.
Honestly, I would argue that this is way worse for these players' health and safety. Right? There's probably they probably can get more sick from like bad hygiene than they can from chances are of even contracting the virus.
If they can't take a shower in the locker room, then there must be just getting on a bus and leaving.
and you're exposing your whole family to that whenever you get back to them. Or if you go back to the hotel, you're exposing everyone in the
doing
hotel.
that anyways.
Smelly. Also, good luck trying to enforce the no hugs or high fives after a home run.
Oh, you could do that.
Good luck with that.
Just bring back the Bash Brothers.
Here's another
forearm bumps.
We're going to do elbow touching, maybe.
There you go.
You're going to see a lot of players, at least initially, like do mock air high fives, like handshakes, but it's all through the air. You'll see that. That'll be funny. That'll go viral.
Everyone start flipping bats.
More bat flipping instead of fist pounding, I guess. I don't know. Players not in the lineup are going to need to sit in the stands and auxiliary seating at a socially distanced space. Not in the dugout.
That I think is awesome. It's a lot better than what we're seeing in like say in Taiwan or Korea, where they're putting mannequins in the stands.
Just looks weird. The robots.
Looks weird. Yeah.
Robot fans. So
or just straight up mannequins that you would see at a clothing store. Some of them are gone cheap. Or you can be like the Korean soccer team and make a big mistake and put the wrong type of doll in the stands.
That's just creepy if you see that. My goodness. That's just absolutely creepy. But I mean, the showers thing is the biggest takeaway. I mean, good luck trying to enforce the fist bumps. Honestly, here's my thoughts on all these rules, a 67-page document. This is basically our cover our tookus doc if you're baseball, right? So you don't get, if one of the players does contract the virus, you can't be sued down the line. Nowadays, everyone's always looking to sue and come up with a lawsuit. This basically just covers Major League Baseball's backside. Good luck trying to enforce people not giving each other high fives. These guys are constantly being tested, so they're going to feel comfortable being around each other. They just are. Just like people were getting on Joe Rogan at the UFC for doing interviews in the octagon, touching the fighters. All the fighters in Joe Rogan have been tested multiple times. He's clear. He's going to do his job, and baseball players are going to do theirs. That's hour number 1 of the Jake Asman Show. We're back with more for the second hour.
Game time decisions.
What's up, everybody? I am Gabriel Morency inviting you. No, I'm not inviting you. I'm telling you. Join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern as we throw it down on the loudest station in the nation, SB Nation Radio. It's Game Time Decisions with Gabriel Morency and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Bring it.
Game Time Decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Into the night.
Ernie Johnson, the host of the NBA on TNT, joins us right now. Ernie, so there seems to be a lot of pushing and pulling from different sides around the NBA on whether or not to get this thing going again. Do you feel that that's going to happen?
Well, I mean, if there's pushing and pulling in the NBA, it's just a reflection of the society that we're living in now, too, because you see states, some are opening things back up quicker than others are, and others are exercising more caution. And so I think it's the same way with the NBA. I mean, you're dealing with 30 NBA cities, and the rules aren't the same for everybody. So it makes it impossible, Tony, to say, oh, yeah, well, it looks like things are right on track to start playing again on this date. And I've said it since day one. If you're going to go back to work on this, if this season is going to resume, man, you better be pretty darn sure that this is safe and you won't have to worry. And to me, you can't do that yet, certainly. And I don't know if we will see a resumption of the season.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern.
Wake up call.
It's really weird how gambling is now embraced and everyone acts like they never hated it or bothered by it before.
You know what else is getting that same love? Weed.
Same thing.
For years it was taboo, and now we're getting to that point like, it's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. Same thing with gambling.
Wish my state would legalize it.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of people doing this. Okay, all right, we know.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Let's go.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
Tim Brando on Twitter to follow him, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. People are saying without students on campus, you can't play college football.
We can thank Mark Emmert for opening his mouth and inserting foot. Mark Emmert has no jurisdiction really over college football, but there's a little thing called the 1984 Supreme Court lawsuit won by the universities of Georgia and Oklahoma that forced the NCAA out of the financial realm of college football. It's like the guy in the California system making this sweeping statement about nothing but online classes later earlier in the year, and he's making the decision with data in May. These guys that just want to see their names in print, making bold decisions that they don't have to make, they illustrate what happens with misuse of power. And the real leaders are doing the right things behind the scenes, and then they'll make their splash when the time comes. And I'm telling you, I think that time will be sometime next month.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Peralt. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Pharrell.
Coast to coast! You know SB Nation's taking over the world, right?
Why, of course.
It's Pharrell here from Sports Grid. Here's what happened. They signed Pharrell Coast to Coast and Morency Game Time Decisions, put it on from 4 to 7 East, and then everybody else in our path. What we're doing is we're destroying them.
Total, complete, absolute annihilation.
And it's a lot of fun.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Wake up call.
I would say this too. If you're going to do the Peyton Manning challenge, do it after the Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady.
Right.
event.
Right.
That way you get
Absolutely.
the behind the scenes scoop. Like, okay, what's Tiger really like?
I'll tell you what, man, Tiger does not shut up. That whole time we were playing, Tiger could not stop talking the whole time. I think I talk a lot. Tiger talks. That would be great.
Yeah.
I would be totally into that.
Did Phil just walk around flexing all the time?
Phil thinks he's good. Nobody loves Phil than Phil. Like, if you've got that information, that'd be gold. Like, I like Phil, but I don't like Phil as much as Phil likes Phil. You know what I mean? I had my fill of Phil after hole 3. How about that? That would be great. That's worth $500,000.
Oh, easily.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. This is the Big E Sports Show on SB Nation Radio.
Hi, this is Elissa Walker Campbell, host of the Big E Sports Show that airs every Friday night from 8 to 10 Eastern right here at SB Nation Radio. Every week we promise to deliver the biggest and best in sports and go beyond the X's and O's. Some of our guests include Dick Vermeil, Tony Dungy, Dan Reeves, and Rick Carlisle. We've always got you covered.
Hear the Big E Sports Show every Friday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on SB Nation Radio.
Headed to Texas to watch your team play, but don't know where to go for that pregame drink? Visit culturemap.com for all of the hottest spots in Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. From the most popular bars to those favorite dine-in gems, Culture Map has it all. Then before you leave town, why not visit some of the best places to shop or see some of the sights? Culture Map has extensive coverage on all the things to do in the city you're in. So check out culturemap.com. That's culturemap.com.
O'Reilly.
Could your car use a spring cleaning? Now's the time to stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts during Clean Car Month for great deals on everything you need to keep your car looking new, like Mother's California Gold Wash and Wax, just $4.99 for a 64-ounce bottle. Save big on your spring cleaning car products today. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the Jake Asman Show, a Gal Media property, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, here's Jake Asman.
Here we go as we keep it moving on the Jake Asman Show. Jake Asman with you. First show back since March 30th here on SB Nation Radio. Grateful to be back. So thankful to have the opportunity to talk some sports, and who knows what else we'll get into here. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. A whole lot to get to this hour. I want to run through a list of some of the unique things I did during my time away from SB Nation Radio and my time spent in quarantine. Here in Houston, state of Texas starting to open up. I think today's actually phase 2 of the reopening, so things like gyms are actually allowed to open. We'll see how that goes. Things like restaurants are already allowed to open, but I think they're allowed to go up to 50% capacity instead of 25% capacity. I've actually been out a couple times to some restaurants so far here in the Houston area, and it's been very safe. You could see a lot of these places have plans for their returns, socially distanced guidelines being followed. Menus that have been distributed have been all paper, so they could instantly throw them out and then give each customer a new menu. I went to a place called Pluckers, which is a sports chain in the Texas area, and Pluckers did this really cool thing where they had a barcode that you scan on your phone, and that's how you get the menu. So I think the one thing we're going to see coming out of this coronavirus is we're going to see kind of a wave of the future of innovative ideas for how you're not going to touch things.
I saw that photo you posted on Twitter and where they used the QR codes.
Exactly. And it's so easy. You just point your phone at it, menu pops right up on your phone. It's very cool.
That's not the wave of the future. If we don't have that more often, I'd be surprised.
I think a lot of the boomers, as they say, are going to be like, what is this? I got to use my phone to see the menu. But I do think that's kind of where we're headed.
As someone who, bartended and waited tables in college, there was nothing worse than wiping down the menus.
Menus are gross if you really think about it. Like a lot of this stuff,
they're disgusting.
Like if you think about kind of where we're at right now as a society coming out of this pandemic, a lot of the things that we were doing, we probably don't need to go back to. Like menus is certainly to me one of them. I don't need to touch your menu. All right, if you're a nice restaurant, I'm coming to you for your food, not for your menu. So don't worry, give me a paper menu.
And
I'll deal with it.
I'll guarantee you this: they were never wiped down with a disinfectant wipe.
You're probably right about that.
Oh, I know for a fact.
Well, you are a man of many restaurants, Ron Culver. Up next, a segment we're going to do every single day at this time. It's called Quick Hits. We'll explain it next.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text MAINE to 321-321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenics samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text MAINE to 321-321. That's MAIN to 321-321.
Attention all timeshare owners. Is this what you'd like to do with your timeshare contract? Do you own a timeshare and just want out? Thousands of timeshare owners are getting out of their timeshare contracts with the help of Timeshare Compliance. Timeshare Compliance can legally terminate, tear up, shred, eliminate, trash your timeshare agreement, ending your payments forever, saving you thousands. So whether you're a victim of a high-pressure, dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip up your timeshare agreement and help rip up your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. 800-946-1013. That's 800-946-1013.
Listen up. Welcome back to the Jake Asman Show. Time now for some quick hits.
You gotta move quickly.
There's no time.
Move fast there. Come on.
Here we go. It is time for Quick Hits on the Jake Asman Show. Quick Hits is a segment where we're going to touch on a bunch of different stories in a pretty fast manner, hence the title, Quick Hits. These are stories that could be goofy. These are stories that, could be newsworthy, but not worthy of a full segment. And these could also just be, whatever I really feel like talking about with Ron in this segment. So without further ado, let's get into it. It is Quick Hits. We start with Michael Jordan and the Bulls coming off of the Last Dance documentary. Talked about this in the first hour, but I want to rehash it here just because I think it's so fascinating what could have been when you look at the career of Michael Jordan and you look at what could have been with the Bulls. The fact that their dynasty was broken up not because they were beaten, but because the general manager, Jerry Krause, wanted to rebuild. This was Michael Jordan last night talking about how, hey, we could have won a seventh title.
Yeah, 91, 92, I was young, full of energy, hungry. In 98, when winning 6 out of 8, and yet being just as dominant as you were in 91, that's where the craftsmanship came in. I think 98 was much better than any of the other years because of how I was able to use my mind as well as my body.
So is it then satisfying to leave at your peak?
No.
Or is it maddening to leave at your peak?
It's maddening, because I felt like we could have won 7. I really believe that. We may not have, but man, just not to be able to try, that's something that, I just can't accept. For whatever reason, I just can't accept it.
I don't blame Jordan at all for not being able to accept it. Think about it. He's Michael Jordan. He's coming off an MVP, another finals win. It was a lockout shortened season. It was only 50 games in the regular season. They would have gotten a lot of rest after a long summer. Jordan and that Bulls team could have came back in January and started up for a chase for ring number 7. And I'm not going to sit here and say they would have won. That team was exhausted at the end. Dennis Rodman was not going to be on that team if they brought it back. Scottie Pippen would have to take less money to come back. He wanted to go somewhere and get paid. The Rockets were the team that paid him. So it's not like it's a foregone conclusion. Everyone's coming back and the Bulls go and win championship number 7. But for them to not even get the opportunity to try, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth of like what could have been, that this dynasty gets, shut down. It gets broken up before we got a chance to actually see someone dethrone them and beat them in the playoffs.
I think had you brought back the core pieces, say Phil, Jordan, Pippen, Kerr, you definitely have something. I'm never going to put Kerr as the where you go for the big 3 nowadays. Kerr wasn't a big 3, but Phil Jackson certainly was a big 3 when it came to Jordan and Pippen.
Absolutely. And if you get Phil back, you probably could convince Pippen to come back for one more year and chase number 7.
Yep. And I saw this tweet. I think it was Matt Peralt who put this tweet out there, and I think sums it up perfectly what Jordan was saying there. If Brady 20 years from now comes back and goes, yeah, Belichick just dropped this or something like that, definitely could have won more titles as a Patriot, in this, after these next couple of years.
And it's funny, we talked in the first hour about an athlete that maybe is also deserving of like a 10-part docuseries. The documentary one day on the Patriots dynasty. It's going to be excellent. Good luck getting cameras to follow Belichick around, though. That might be a difficult task. They'll follow his dog around.
Or maybe they already have been. Maybe he signed off on that.
Well, actually, maybe Spygate all makes sense now.
Exactly.
There you go.
Maybe it's a selfie he's been a camera that he's been holding up for Snapface.
Snapface and InstaChat, as
That's
he would
right.
call it. Staying with the Last Dance here, I thought this was one of the funnier moments of the 10-part series. So after the Bulls knock off the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 of the conference finals, you have head coach of the Pacers, Larry Bird, going over to Jordan in like the back tunnels of Chicago Stadium. And the cameras caught Jordan and Larry Bird's exchange after Game 7. And this is vintage Michael Jordan. Take a listen.
Enjoy yourself, dog. Y'all gave us the run for our money. Yeah. I'll see you. All right, take care. Thank you. Work on that golf game of yours.
Jordan starts it off by saying, hey, Bleep you, you bleep. And then he says to Larry Bird on the way out, go work on that golf game. Man, nobody talks to Larry Legend like that, except Michael Jordan. And it was pretty cool, too. Another sign of sportsmanship between those two guys. And how about this? The footage of Karl Malone coming on the Jordan Bulls bus after Michael Jordan's Bulls beat Karl Malone's Jazz in Game 6. They had the footage of Malone coming on the bus.
That was an amazing thing to see. Really, really powerful. Because basically what it did, it ended that story arc, right?
That was it.
You had Isaiah Thomas, who refused to shake hands, walked off the court before the end of the game, come full circle all the way to Malone in defeat. Having lost the finals, that team is celebrating. That team is happy until he gets on the bus, and everyone has respect for him and say, hey, let's not throw it in his face. He came onto our bus to say congratulations and walked right back to the back of the bus and said, hey, Michael, congrats.
It's just cool to see. And you wonder how often that stuff goes on, and there's normally not cameras there to document it, but that's pretty cool. Those two guys
that put Karl Malone way,
you moved him up on the ranks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, those guys were dream team teammates. And you know what was pretty cool about this documentary as well? You never realize how often these players see each other like in between the games. Like there were several moments in the documentary where the cameras caught Jordan saying hello to Reggie Miller after one of the games in Indiana. And the cameras obviously, caught Jordan saying hello to Stockton and Malone before the press conference in between one of the games. Little moments like that.
Like Jordan just finished his, came out of the room.
And these guys are going on.
They're just sitting there. And it's also kind of funny. It's like humbling to see them just sitting on stage boxes. I don't know why.
Different now.
Why don't you think that they're not sitting in like a luxury recliner at that point or something?
It's weird, but it's so surreal to see the footage and just think that this was there for 23 years, just sitting in like a basement in Secaucus, New Jersey, at NBA Entertainment, and now it's finally come to life. Moving on in quick hits here on the Jake Asman Show. Jake Asman with you, Ron Kober producing the program. Devin McCourty. Friend of the show, by the way. Devin McCourty came on our show at the Super Bowl when we were doing the shows from Miami. Devin McCourty downplayed Tom Brady leaving the Pats. He told Sirius XM's NFL radio, quote, I honestly didn't think twice about Tom's free agency because I was a free agent myself. That was my main concern, where my family would end up. Would we be back in New England? Then when I signed my deal and I was back, you kind of think of all those guys. Tom, Mikhail Van Noyes, Jamie Collins, all those guys you had relationships with. That's kind of, man, that this could be it. This could have been the last game I played with these guys. When he made the decision to me, it wasn't like the end of the world. I like McCourty sticking to the Belichick script here, but I have to imagine when your entire career in New England, you're playing with Tom Brady, and now all of a sudden you have some guy named Jarrett Stidham being your quarterback.
Allegedly.
I think that might be the end of the world. We'll find out what Stidham is, but this has been the approach the Patriots have taken this offseason when asked about Brady leaving. Their coach is still Belichick, and so they're not going to give you any crazy headlines about Tom leaving. Oh, he's a traitor for leaving us. I don't think you're going to get that from any Patriot player.
I guess we're going to find out if Belichick's system truly is plug and play.
You do wonder, though, will we get a comment or something soon from Julian Edelman? Because Gronk's coming out of retirement to go and play. And Edelman, I'm sure, wants to join his best buddy, Tom Brady.
Especially in Florida.
I think he unfollowed him. Very true. I think he unfollowed him off of Instagram a couple months back. I don't know if the latest update is if he's refollowed him or not. But, there you go with Julian Edelman. I mean, it is going to be fascinating what the Patriots are. And they're set up perfectly where Belichick could somehow get them to go 9-7. Dare I say 10-6, extra playoff spot now available in the AFC.
I was gonna throw this question out at you. Are the Patriots winning the AFC East?
I would say yes until proven otherwise. I mean, why would I bet on any other team until I see somebody knock off the Pats?
I'm just saying, I know there's a team in the AFC East that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've made the mistake way too many times to think the Jets are going to be decent. I do think they could be. Right, they were 7-9 last year, and they had a winning record when Sam played. Problem was he missed 3 games to the mono. So there goes.
Maybe it was Corona.
In hindsight, maybe it was. No, I don't think it was. I think he was actually diagnosed with mononucleosis. But it will be fascinating, and obviously leading up to the NFL season, the storyline in New England, all about what they have in Jarrett Stidham. Staying with the NFL here in quick hits, what a weekend it was for the NFL. Quentin Dunbar and DeAndre Baker, they turned themselves in for the alleged armed robbery. You had Bills defensive lineman Ed Oliver get arrested for DUI and for carrying a weapon. That was not too far from where we are here in Houston. Ed Oliver, a University of Houston alum. So Ed Oliver arrested. DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar turned themselves in for alleged robbery. And, Redskins wide receiver Cody Lattimore was arrested for assault.
You got to have a fall guy.
Better weekend for the NFL. Staying with the league, Aaron Rodgers has spoken for the first time since some guy named Jordan Love, you might have heard, was the Packers' first-round selection. Green Bay traded up in the first round to take the former Utah State quarterback. A lot of people were saying, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to be mad. He's not going to treat this guy with any respect. This is going to cause a ton of drama. It might, but so far so good. However, I thought this was really good from Rodgers. He admitted, hey, I was a little surprised about the pick.
I think, general reaction at first was surprise. I think like many people, obviously I'm not going to say that I was, thrilled by the pick necessarily, but I understand the organization is thinking not only about the present, but about the future. And I respect that. I understand that their focus and their mindset, and obviously they thought that he was such a great talent that they needed to go up and get him.
So taking the high road there, a smart answer from Rodgers. I appreciate the honesty. If he had just said, I have no issue with it, everyone would be like, oh, you're lying, you're BSing, it's not true. He admits, hey, I was a little surprised by it, but I understand the pick. I think that's kind of what you want in your athletes, right? You can't crush them if they're being honest. And listen, the reality is, and I think Rodgers knows this, if he plays like Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love's not seeing the field. We can worry about when he'll play 2 years down the line when Rodgers has an out in his contract. As long as Aaron Rodgers goes out there and plays like Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be the quarterback. So I appreciated the honesty there from the Green Bay Star.
And if not, Favre had a couple good seasons after his year with his time with the Packers.
And here's the thing with Favre as well. Favre kept on threatening to retire every year, and he retired after the 08 season, after the 07 season, where the Green Bay went to the NFC Championship game and they lost to the 07 Giants. And Green Bay was sick of the act of, are you coming back? Are you not? And they committed to Aaron Rodgers. They watched him at practice for 3 years. They knew what they had, and they made the right choice. Whereas you look at, where things are with Aaron Rodgers right now, he's not giving any indication he wants to retire, and he might end up playing for another team. If Tom Brady could play for another team, so can Aaron Rodgers, Joe Montana. We know the list of quarterbacks that didn't finish their careers playing for one team. So it is what it is with the Packers for right now. I think that storyline will be a big story, but not necessarily in 2020. We'll talk about it more as we get closer to the end of Rodgers' contract extension he signed before the start of last season. A couple of live sports to hit on here as we continue in quick hits. Golf is back. Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson won a charity skins match over Ricky Fowler and over Matthew Wolff, who's kind of like just the fourth guy that got thrown into this. The big names were McIlroy and Dustin and obviously Ricky. And then Wolff was there too. He was a part of it. Here's how it sounded as Rory and Dustin won the charity match over Fowler and Wolff, courtesy of our friends at NBC.
Come on, partner.
He did what he wanted to do with the strike. Now it's all up to the reaction.
Stay on the green. Oh, they're going to have to measure. I think usually the ball that's pinned high is the closest. You think? Did it? Who got it, Jim? Woo! There we go. Air five. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
It is Rory McIlroy, number one in the world for a reason.
Yeah.
$1.1 million shot right there.
So McIlroy barely won, as you just heard there, the closer to the pin contest at the end. A skins match, by the way, for those who are like, what the heck is a skins match that they're playing in golf? Is that like shirts and skins playing golf? No, it's not. Skins match is when a certain amount of money is put on each hole, and whoever wins claims the money. If there's a tie, the money rolls over onto the next hole. So there you have it. $1.85 million were raised by Rory and Dustin Johnson. That was kind of a tune-up for next Sunday's Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning match that we're going again. Tiger and Phil round 2 for the first time since they did it in 2018.
Yeah, it was almost like they did this one to kind of get the camera angles right, the mic situation right, fine-tune all those problems that they could end up having. Now, will we see Tiger and Phil carrying their own bags? Or Peyton and Brady?
I would be surprised. I think Tiger would be like, I can't do it if I got to carry my own bag.
Yeah.
It's my back. I could get
come
hurt.
on.
And Brady
I'm
would be like,
away.
I'm still playing. It'd be funny if they make the older guy. Like if Phil has to carry, everyone's bag and, Peyton's retired. So what's this excuse? You could do it. I would
Maybe
think they'll have
State
caddies.
Farm out there or Nationwide.
That's possible as well. But they're trying to socially distance, so you can't have too many people around them.
So they all need to have carts. Just drive.
Nothing wrong with a golf cart.
No, nothing wrong with a golf cart.
NASCAR also back this weekend. Kevin Harvick won the first race back, his 50th career win. Here's how it sounded, the final call, courtesy of Fox.
Back straightaway, final time. Kevin Harvick is about to become the 14th driver in NASCAR Cup history to reach 50 career victories, breaking a tie with Tony Stewart for 14th. Harvick wins NASCAR's return to action at Darlington.
So there you go. A little car action for you. No knock on NASCAR, just not something that even when we're deprived for sports, I'm going to be actively tuning into. But hey, that's your thing. Maybe you gambled on it because there was nothing else really going on. Good for you. But NASCAR back this weekend, and they'll continue to race, each weekend pretty much moving forward. And, hopefully with golf returning, the PGA Tour set a bunch of dates in June. With NASCAR now back, baseball has an issue going on between players and the owners. Hopefully that gets worked out soon. Basketball is working on a plan. We know the NHL is working on a plan that might include, about 24 teams being eligible to compete for the playoffs. There's a lot still happening. With the return to sports, but it does seem like here on May 18th, a lot of the news is positive in regards to a return to some normalcy and a return to the sports world. And that wraps it up for the first installment of Quick Hits here on the relaunched Jake Asman Show. Coming up next, I want to get into some of the new skills that I learned during my quarantine because I have a funny feeling that some of these will blow your mind. We'll do that next here on the Jake Asman Show.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner. Two-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
The second level. The
first, and I can't get it out of my head, Tony's Fauci is awful. I think I've heard Tony do other impressions. I've heard him do voices, if you will. And they're all great. They're all on the level. But I don't know. There's something about that Fauci that's really off. This is the dueling Faucis here.
That the idea of having treatments available to facilitate the reentry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
Or
we may never be able to shake hands ever again. It's more like if you have two people in a room, it's better if one of them leaves.
Tony's Fauci sounds like what the real Fauci would sound like if he were yelling. The real Fauci sounds like he's been yelling at the president for the last 8 hours.
The second level, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Pharrell's
Coast to Coast. It's Pharrell, Coast to Coast. We're taking over the world. And I got to tell you, from the beginning, it's been kind of easy. You got to love us on SB Nation, kicking ass and taking names. Every day, 4 to 6, you catch my Sports Grid Coast to Coast gig. And imagine this. Once we go live again, baby, you're not going to know what hit you when I start pouring beers and shots for you.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
When my son goes down to Gainesville to go to the University of Florida, my advice to him will be, do not be Florida man.
Tom Brady was only there for a week.
Right.
And he's done two things now where he's Florida man.
It's something that just comes over people and they're like,
is it the water?
Wow.
Is it the sunshine? My question to you, Father, is if he starts to become that, do you pull him out?
That's a good question. That's where I might have to sit with my wife and go, look, he's putting toothpicks in light sockets. He's walking around with an open umbrella during a lightning storm. We have to sit down and reassess his post-high school education.
He's walking into people's houses thinking it was his professors.
He's right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
We can't have this.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned.
Throwing footballs in a park that's closed.
It's closed. Wrestling alligators. I don't want you doing that. Or petting alligators, whatever. Don't do any of these Florida man things. I'm just afraid it's in the water.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. You're listening to the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
When your battery goes dead, everything could come to a stop, like the world has. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery free of charge. If your battery needs to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. Make sure your vehicle is prepared for the weather ahead by getting your battery tested for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better parts, better prices every day. All right, a couple minutes here. I want to spend some time on what I've been doing during my quarantine, because I've tried to make the most of being locked up. I've tried to make the most of not being on the radio for the first time, basically since March 30th. Here's what I've done. And Ron, I want you to tell me if you are impressed by what I'm about to tell you. I've learned some basic cooking skills. For the first time in my life, I have cooked the following things: steak, chicken, salmon. All right, let's start with those three. Your thoughts?
Dish of salmon.
Not a salmon guy?
Nah, not at all.
But it is impressive that I'm doing all this.
Barbecue. How are we doing this?
Using the pan on the stovetop.
Okay,
that's been my go-to. Barbecue is the next thing I'm going to work on, but those are just some of the meats.
That's fine. At least I thought you were going to come at me and go, "Hey, I finally figured out how to do hamburger helper."
we can maybe we'll get to that next. I've also done a lot of scrambled eggs. I've always been a hard boiled egg guy. I finally just was like, you know what? I'll make my own scrambled eggs. Made some pasta.
Yeah, not hard, right? Well, come on, pasta's easy.
I mean, it's almost as easy as hard boiled eggs.
It is.
It's great. I've mastered the art of boiling the water. Let me tell you.
That's what. That is a skill that is probably ingrained in a 2-year-old.
So I've done the basic cooking stuff. All right. So I think that's a big win for me, because instead of just constantly, eating out every night, I've made myself some home cooked meals.
You going cookbook on us, or, like getting like an ingredient list and making gourmet meals?
I'm following the way of the future, which is watch a video on YouTube for advice, and then a little trial and error. The fire alarm has only gone off once in the last month.
Are you following a Gordon Ramsay or a Gus Fieri or a Barefoot Contessa?
Actually, Gordon Ramsay has a bunch of these 3-minute cooking
masterclass,
and it's great because I don't like the long 20-minute videos. I don't have time for that. Give me it in 3 minutes, and let me trial and error it, and that's what I've been doing. So I have the cooking stuff, situated.
Well, you don't look. You don't look. What's the word? I'm not going to say skinny, but
I don't look fatter.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm going to say you don't look like you don't look like you've been starving.
No, I've been.
That's what I'm going to say. So you must be cooking food that is good for you, and you're not giving yourself the Michael Jordan food poisoning.
No pizza in Utah for me. Just not happening. Can't have it. Finally, I got about a minute left. So some other things I've been working on.
Okay.
One other skill, some graphic design stuff. So you'll see that on social media. You'll start to see that pop up. Some new logos, some new audio clips we're going to play from the show. It's going to be cool. And if you're watching right now on Facebook Live or YouTube on SB Nation's page or my personal Facebook page, you're going to notice that that's something I've learned how to do. Stream the show. Props to Eitan Shander, who's coming up next on our network for the program to do everything that you will see video-wise. And finally, I have binged The Office for the first time, Ron. Have you seen the show The Office?
I haven't seen it all the way through. I have picked up enough episodes that I know who is who and seen enough memes to know who is who.
So that's how it was for me for a while. Yeah. And obviously Jose Partida here on the network, Matt Peralta's producer. He is the biggest Office fan ever.
Guilted you into it?
He guilted me into watching it. I sat down, and in about a 3-week span, I watched all 188 episodes.
Yeah, see, I have a hard time binge watching everything as it is. I watched The Last Dance. I started it at 10 o'clock last night.
Well, without sports, I've had quite the void for entertainment. Yeah. So I'm like, it's either now or never. If I don't watch the show now, I'm just never.
My excuse is kids. They keep getting in the way. They ruin everything.
Kids.
Don't have kids.
I'll keep that in mind. Ron Culver doing his thing on the other side of the glass. Up next, I want to get into some of the ridiculous rules the NFL is trying to implement next.
Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $28.95 and get a $10 O'Reilly gift card after mail-in rebate. You can even order at O'ReillyAuto.com and we'll deliver it curbside. Protect your engine from sludge and wear at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com.
Attention. If you or a loved one took Belviq or Belviq XR for weight loss, call the Belviq Advocates at 1-888-743-7254. You may be at increased risk for cancer, including pancreatic, colorectal, and lung cancer, and you may be entitled to a compensation. Call for a free review of your case at 1-888-743-7254. In February 2020, the FDA requested that the manufacturer of Belviq withdraw the drug from the market due to cancer findings. Call so that we can fight for a compensation to cover your medical bills and more. If you've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, colorectal, or lung cancer after using the weight loss drug Belviq or Belviq XR, call the Belviq Advocates now for a free consultation. You may be owed a significant compensation. Call 1-888-743-7254. 1-888-743-7254. That's 1-888-743-7254. Consult your physician prior to discontinuing use of any medication. Results may vary.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During the challenging times we're all experiencing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that'll never change is our commitment to giving you the best mortgage experience. At Rocket Mortgage, our guiding philosophy of every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, exists for times like right now. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your mortgage, contact us 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows. If you think right now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Welcome back to the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, here's Jake Asman.
We move right along here on the Jake Asman Show. Jake Asman hanging out with you. Sean Kramer on Facebook writes in, I think I would even go to Dwight Schrute's gym for muscles at this point. Hope the gyms are safe to open soon. Glad you finally saw The Office. Thank you, Sean. Yes, I would go to Dwight Schrute's gym as well. It really makes you tough. Hopefully Office fans get the reference. I think you do. I think you certainly do. Ron Culver probably doesn't. He's never seen The Office start to finish like I have. He's missing out. Anyhow, we will continue to react to anything you post on the Twitter account for the show and on the Facebook page here. We'll take questions and comments throughout, as we always do. If you're new to the show here on SB Nation Radio, well, it's new to this time slot anyhow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Thrilled to be back, having some fun. There will be a podcast available for the show. Just search the Jake Asman Show on SBNationRadio.com, Spotify, Apple Podcast. It will all be there, and you can listen back to anything you might have missed. I do want to get to this because this was one of the more ridiculous things I've seen in a long time. In fact, when I first saw this proposal that the NFL was putting forward, I thought it was a parody. Like, I thought this was an article from The Onion or something like that, or like one of those like parody Twitter accounts, like Sports Talk Barry on Twitter, that likes to always fool people with tweets. The NFL this week is going to be voting on a resolution that would actually improve a team's draft position if the team hires a person of color as a head coach or general manager. A team can move up 6 spots in the 3rd round of the draft for hiring a minority head coach, and 10 spots in the 3rd round for hiring a minority GM. Now, currently, there are only 2 black GMs and 4 head coaches of color. That matches a 17-year low for the league. Here's the problem. This is insulting for minorities. This is the classic example of the right idea, wrong way to execute it. Because the premise of this rule is for the right reasons. Clearly, there needs to be more minority coaching candidates and GM candidates moving forward. I mean, I think it's 80% of the NFL is black. So there's a no-brainer. This is a real issue. But I think it's insulting to minority candidates to try and incentivize teams to hire them with draft position. You know, I thought Anthony Lynn, the head coach of the Chargers, he said it best when talking about the rule. Quote, I think sometimes you could do the wrong thing while trying to do the right thing. I think there are a lot of qualified African-American coaches that could be a head coach of this league, and I just pray that we do our due diligence and give these guys an opportunity. The reality is, it starts at the top, right? You have no African-American owners, so that's first and foremost. You know, obviously, there's only 2 black GMs. Well, GMs are the people who usually hire the coaches, so it starts there. But I just think incentivizing the hiring a minority candidate, it's the wrong way to go about it. You know, you are basically trying to incentivize something that is insulting to other minority candidates. You know, Anthony Lynn is one of the 4 head coaches of color in the NFL. He could speak to it. It's just a preposterous thing to suggest. It's not something that can be implemented. And here's the thing. There's no right answer to this problem. It's a very complex issue. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, well, there's nothing we could do. You know, got to just hope for the best and hope, you know, African-American candidates and people of color get opportunities. I do have some solutions that I think could try and help. I think we need to start letting assistant coaches not be blocked if they want to be interviewed for a coordinator job. You know, the NFL teams, they often blocked position coaches from interviewing to be a coordinator. And it's only when you're a coordinator that you then get the right to interview to be a head coach. Most of these head coaches are either an offensive or a defensive coordinator. I think we need to stop blocking these guys from getting the opportunity to be an OC or a DC. The NFL should make it mandatory that if a team wants to request the chance to speak to the defensive line coach of X Team A, you know, Team B should have the right to speak to that coach for their open DC position. We shouldn't be stopping promotions. Like, the wheels got to be spinning there. I also think part of the main issue you have with the hiring process is how some teams are in such a rush just to hire somebody because they don't want to lose out on their guy. I believe hiring should not be allowed until after the Super Bowl. Eric Bieniemy is a minority candidate, offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Everybody keeps saying this guy is going to be a head coach someday. And it's crazy he didn't get an opportunity to be a head coach this past year during this past hiring cycle. Well, to me, Eric Bieniemy was kind of screwed by the fact that the Chiefs did go to the Super Bowl, that his team did win the Super Bowl. Because while all these other teams are hiring their coaches, Bieniemy's still coaching his team. And these teams don't want to sit around and wait. They want to hire their head coach and then hire the coaching staff right away because you lose out on some candidates. I think the NFL should freeze the hiring process until after the Super Bowl. You know, we already televised the draft. We televised the schedule release. Why don't we televise like the period in time where coaches are allowed to be hired? We can make that like, you know, we have free agent frenzy. Why don't we have NFL head coaching frenzy the week after the Super Bowl or something? It's just wrong. Because if you're a minority candidate and you get hired after these rules are implemented, isn't part of you going to kind of feel slighted? Oh, am I really being hired because I'm the best person for the job? Or am I being hired because my team wants to just bring in a minority candidate? I think it's insulting. I really do. I thought this was a parody. I think it's the total wrong way to go about it. Right idea, terrible execution. Like the Rooney Rule in the NFL was made and put in place for the right reasons. And the Rooney Rule, for those not familiar, is a rule in which any NFL team has to interview at least one minority coaching candidate before you could hire a head coach. But the problem with the Rooney Rule has been this. Teams have just been interviewing the token candidate because they needed to fill the requirement, but they already had their guy in mind. Like the Cowboys, as an example, were interviewing, Mike McCarthy. We knew they wanted Mike McCarthy. Who was their coaching candidate to meet the Rooney Rule requirement? It was Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis, who had a long career as NFL head coach, never won anything. You know what he is. He was never going to get that job. That interview should have went to a minority candidate that actually would benefit from the opportunity to be out in the public and get some run from the media. I also think if you want to try and improve the lack of minority coaches and GM candidates, NFL teams need to allow assistant coaches and assistant GMs and scouts to speak to the media more often. A lot of teams do not allow their assistant coaches to speak to the media. So no one can really develop a relationship with an up-and-coming, quarterbacks coach if he's not able to speak to the media. The only people that speak to the media every week in the NFL is the head coach and the offensive and defensive coordinator usually speak once a week. Start letting some of the position coaches speak. Get their name out there. Let people see that they're well-spoken, that they have a great idea for the type of program they're running, that they have the persona that could translate to being a head coach one day. It's all about exposure because NFL teams hire who they feel comfortable with. If you're a GM, you're going to hire a coach that you feel comfortable with. Well, maybe if you got a chance to know a bunch of different candidates, some of those candidates would be minority candidates, and that will thus translate into some of these guys being hired. There's no right way to fix this problem. But I'm sorry, voting on a resolution that rewards a team a higher draft pick for hiring a minority head coach or GM is just not the right way to do it. It's just not. Can I argue this is also kind of racist against people that are white in a way? Kind of reverse racism here? It's just so absurd that this is a real thing. And the other thing in all this, too, is why is it just a third-round pick? Like, how did we settle on that arbitrary number? Are we saying that, a minority candidate is only worth a third-round pick? They're not worth more? Are people going to be offended that, the minority candidate is only worth a third-round pick? They're not worth at least a second? I don't know. I just know where people go nowadays in our society. Everyone's always looking for a reason to be mad. Big mad on the internet. But I'll tell you what, this is just not the right answer. I think this is an overreaction to a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who was clearly a qualified candidate not getting a job this past offseason. But I think a big part of that is because the Kansas City Chiefs went all the way to the Super Bowl, and teams didn't want to sit around and wait. So I think the biggest thing the NFL could do if they want to try and incentivize, more minorities being hired for positions, I think the biggest thing they could do is have a total hiring freeze until after the Super Bowl. Hire freeze. That's it. And then you're the NFL. You want to monetize it? We'll have a head coaching special. Where is this person going to go? We'll break it down for the next 4 hours here on ESPN on the NFL Network.
I mean, we do have the players, free agency.
We have free agency frenzy. We could have an NFL
why not?
coaching special. I really think that's a big problem, though. So the two things, just to recap here, that I would suggest trying to do to try and fix this issue is freeze the hiring until after the Super Bowl and let assistant coaches interview for coordinator jobs without being blocked by their teams. Give people the opportunity to be promoted upwards. Because you'll see time and time again, to be a head coach in the NFL, you have to be a successful DC or a successful OC. It's very rare you get a guy like Joe Judge, now the head coach of the Giants, who was a special teams coordinator in New England. It's rare. Majority of coaching candidates were great OCs or great DCs. So if you're a position coach and you have the opportunity to interview for a coordinator job and your team blocks you, that shouldn't be allowed. You should be allowed to interview for that job. Starts at the top. That's how you do it. That's the only way you could try and fix something as complex as this issue. The idea to reward a team for hiring a minority candidate just sounds comical, honestly. And if I was a minority candidate, I know I'd be offended. Anthony Lynn, I thought, said it best. Right idea. but terrible execution. His quote, sometimes you can do the wrong thing while trying to do the right thing. Classic example. This is the right thing to try and do. Wrong way of going about it. We wrap up the show next. Here on a Monday, you're listening to the Jake Asman Show.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
Joe Theismann here. I'm pushing the odds. How has quarantine life been for you?
Probably the most important word that we can all consider is patience with everybody. I know everybody's sort of going stir crazy. I mean, let's face it. This is something we're not used to as a society. We move quite rapidly, but now we're forced to sort of reevaluate the important things in life. And I think it's good in that regard. Matt, I've said this for a long time. If you have your health, you have wealth. Wealth has nothing to do with what your bank account looks like. If you have your health, then you are a very wealthy person. Now it's important that we understand that you want to be able to keep social distancing so that everybody can stay healthy. And the more we can practice that, every day that we can practice that, every day we can buy a day for the scientists to be able to come up with a cure or a vaccine, it's a day closer to having this craziness end. And life will never be the same.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up call!
Please, God, if it does come to that, can we have the Walking Dead zombies, not the World War Z?
Yeah, I don't need the fast-moving
superhuman.
Ooh,
I'm not outrunning a World War Z zombie.
I'm the guy you bring because secretly you know I can't keep up with the rest of the group. Hey, I'm going to take Bob and Jim and Tony. You come with us too. And everybody knows why you're bringing me. When push comes to shove, I'm the meal.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Into the night.
The great Pat McAfee, an award-winning sports reporter, former punter, joins us now. Pat, I read that you said that you have no shot of being part of the Monday Night Crew. Is that official, or is that just your gut feeling?
A year ago, my boys and I and the people that follow me on the internet are the greatest humans on earth. We pushed for the Monday Night Football rule. We know there was no chance that I would get considered for it, but we made a little bit of noise. And whenever the job seemed to be opened up yet again here, obviously the natural thing was, okay, we made a push for it last year. Let's go for it again. And every time I would ask a question to, my people, I was basically told, that's going to be a long shot because ESPN, they want a prestigious booth again. And whenever you're a punter, that's not necessarily the position you're always in, a prestigious one, shall we say. So I think I've been told on a couple different occasions that I'm probably not the guy that's going to get that gig. And do I think I'd be good at it? Yeah, I think I would be. But now is not the right time. And there is zero chance in hell that I get offered the gig anyways.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Game Time Decisions.
I'm Gabriel Morency, inviting you to join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio, the loudest station in the nation. No games, no problem. We've got your back. Weekdays at 6. We throw it down. Best bets, props. If they're playing, we'll find a number on it. Bring it. Weekdays at 6. SB Nation Radio. Game Time Decisions.
Game Time Decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. This is the Jake Asman Show, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
This hour of the show has been presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way to provide a seamless mortgage experience. Got about 5 minutes left. First show back on the air here on SB Nation Radio since March 30th. Feels great to be back. We'll be with you every weekday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you miss any of the show, it'll be up on the Jake Asman Show podcast page. Check it out, SBNationRadio.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast. It will be there posted after the show. And if you're watching us on Facebook, the SB Nation Radio Twitter account, my Twitter account, wherever you may be watching, we thank you for that. And you can comment questions and whatnot. We'll try and mix those in throughout the show as well. This one from Justin Mader on Facebook, just going off of the conversation we had in the last segment about the lack of minority coaches in the NFL. Justin writes in, another problem is the lack of head coaches that are minorities in college. Matt Rule seems like a great hire, along with other college coaches coming to the NFL. But how many college head coaches of color are out there? I agree with the OC/DC availability and waiting until after the Super Bowl. Just another thought. Good point there by Justin. This is not just an NFL issue. How many African American coaches are there in college? I don't have that that number in front of me, but I have to imagine college football has a similar problem. No, think of some of the major head coaches in college football. Go through the top programs. How many coaches do you think of that are African American? There's not many. I'm just in my mind real quick, just going through some of the the top schools in the SEC and thinking about the top programs in the Big Ten. Thinking about the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas. And it's not just about, a school should just hire a minority candidate just for the sake of hiring a minority candidate, but it is an issue. And I understand why the NFL is trying to address the issue, but they're addressing it in the wrong way. And I do not think there is a chance in hell that this resolution will pass. I really don't. I think I'd be shocked at this point if it does. Because once again, full disclosure, Jim Trotter of Sports Illustrated was the one who broke this story that this resolution was going to be proposed this week at owners' meetings. Without seeing Jim was the one who broke the news, I thought this was an Onion tweet. I'm like, the Onion's at it again. NFL team's going to be rewarded with better draft picks if they hire minority coaches. By the Onion. Wrong. So there you have it. I just, right idea, awful execution. Wrong way to go about it. And it's funny, of course, the team I root for, the New York Jets, they had a minority head coach in Todd Bowles for 4 years. He was a bad head coach. He ends up getting fired. Jets didn't get to benefit from this alleged draft rule at all. Like, it has nothing to do if you're black, if you're white, if you're Asian descent, Hispanic descent. A good coach is a good coach. And guys guys deserve the opportunities for just being good at their jobs and earning the opportunities. You don't want to ever incentivize a team to hire a minority candidate, and then that minority candidate sits in there going, am I only getting this job because of my skin color?
But it does make you wonder, how did this get past certain people, right? Like, how did this idea make it down the channels of the NFL?
Well, I think anyone could propose a new rule.
Well, I know, but I mean, still to the point where it got to the point where people are going to be voting on it.
Which is stunning in and of itself. But when you consider, the state of our country right now and some things that have gone on in years past, you'd say there's no way this would ever happen. Well, maybe that answers it. I don't know. I really don't know on that one. Fun first show today. Awesome to be back. Thanks so much to all the listeners who took time to tune in to the first show. Busy week ahead. We're going to have some big name guests join us every day on the show, break down everything going on in the sports landscape and so much more. A lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. Great to be back. We will talk to you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern here on SB Nation Radio.